A man who controls himself controls everything. His mind is sharp, his emotions steady, his presence undeniable. He does not chase, does not beg, does not need validation. He walks his path with quiet strength, indifferent to approval or rejection. And that is precisely why he stands above the rest. Most men make the same mistake. They think attraction is about saying the right words, playing the right games, or winning a woman's approval. They obsess over strategies, fearing rejection, adjusting their behavior to fit what they believe others want. In doing so, they lose the very thing that makes them desirable: a strong, immovable core. A Stoic man does not fall into this trap. He understands that true attraction is not pursued, it is cultivated. It is not about seeking approval, but about becoming the kind of person who does not need it. Women, like all people, are drawn to strength. Not just physical strength, but the deeper kind. The kind that remains unshaken in the face of adversity, that does not crumble under pressure, that does not depend on external validation to feel complete. This is why Stoic men have the upper hand in dating. They are not governed by emotions, not desperate for attention, not afraid to lose what was never theirs to begin with. They do not build their self-worth around a relationship. Instead, they build themselves, mentally, physically, and emotionally. And in doing so, they become the kind of men who naturally command respect, admiration, and attraction. The modern world has weakened men. It has taught them to seek validation, to fear rejection, to define themselves through the eyes of others. But history tells a different story. The most powerful men, emperors, warriors, philosophers, were not concerned with how they were perceived. They mastered themselves first, and the world followed. Marcus Aurelius said, "A man's worth is no greater than his ambitions." A Stoic man's ambition is not to impress, it is to become. And in that becoming, he gains everything. If you're ready to stop chasing and start leading, like this video, subscribe to Victory Stoic, and share this with a man who needs to hear it. Drop a comment below. Are you mastering yourself, or are you still looking for approval? Number 1, they don't despair or seek approval. In a quiet cafe on the outskirts of town, Ethan sat with his friend Mark, watching a man across the room. The guy was loud, constantly shifting in his chair, checking his phone every few seconds. He told exaggerated stories, forcing laughter, making sure people noticed him. Every gesture screamed one thing: "Please acknowledge me." Mark smirked. "See that? That's the energy of a man who doesn't believe in his own worth. He needs the room to remind him he matters." Ethan nodded but said nothing. A few tables away, another man caught his attention. He sat alone, relaxed, focused on his book. No frantic movements, no need to prove himself. He wasn't concerned with who noticed him, and that's precisely why people did. This is the paradox of confidence. The moment you stop seeking approval, the moment you stop needing recognition, is the moment you naturally attract it. The strongest men, the ones who command respect, never beg for it. They don't posture, they don't perform. They simply exist with certainty, and the world adjusts to them. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." Most people crave validation. They measure their worth by external reactions, shaping their personalities to fit what they think others want. But a Stoic understands that self-respect is an internal matter. He does not chase admiration, because admiration is a side effect of being truly unshaken. Imagine 2 ships at sea. One is battered by every wave, tossed violently with no control. The other moves steadily, unaffected by the storm. The difference? One fights against the ocean, the other moves with purpose. A Stoic is like that steady ship. He does not react to every ripple in the water. He navigates with intent, knowing that true strength lies in self-mastery, not external approval. David, a talented musician, learned this lesson the hard way. Early in his career, he obsessed over audience reactions. If a crowd cheered, he felt invincible. If they were indifferent, he questioned everything. He adjusted his music constantly, chasing trends, trying to be what others wanted. The result? He became forgettable, a man with no identity of his own. One day, an older mentor told him, "Play what's true to you, stop trying to be liked, be real, and the right people will listen." So he did. He stopped bending to the crowd, focused on his craft, and played as if no one was watching. Ironically, that's when people truly started paying attention. This is the truth about power. The moment you no longer need it, you have it. Desperation repels, certainty attracts. A Stoic never asks for recognition. He doesn't need applause, doesn't demand respect, doesn't seek validation, and because of this, people instinctively respect him. Seneca wrote, "The less you need, the freer you become." The man who needs attention is a prisoner to it. The man who does not need it, he is untouchable. He walks into a room without seeking approval, and that is why people notice him. He lives not to be watched, but to move forward on his own terms. Number 2, they control their emotions. They don't overreact. James sat across the table from his date, enjoying his coffee, when a guy at the next table bumped into him, spilling a drink onto his sleeve. The guy barely acknowledged it, just a quick, half-hearted, "sorry, man," before turning back to his conversation. James glanced at his now stained sleeve. His date looked at him, waiting for his reaction. He could have cursed, made a scene, demanded an apology, but instead, he calmly grabbed a napkin, wiped off what he could, and went back to the conversation. His date raised an eyebrow, impressed. "You're really not bothered by that?" He shrugged. "Why would I be?" She smiled. That was the moment he won her respect. Most people overreact to small things. A rude comment, a delayed text, a minor inconvenience. They let trivial events control their emotions. But the man who stays composed, who doesn't let the outside world dictate his internal state, stands out. A man who can control himself is a man others trust. Emotional control equals strength. A Stoic understands that reacting emotionally to everything is weakness. The man who is easily triggered is the man who can be easily controlled. If you explode at every insult, every inconvenience, every unexpected situation, you are giving the world power over you. The strongest men are not those who are loudest, but those who are unshaken. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. Power is not about physical dominance or loud words. It is about maintaining control, even when the world tests you. Women especially notice this trait. A man who remains calm under pressure signals stability. When a situation turns stressful, an argument, a setback, an emergency, does not panic. He doesn't yell. He doesn't crumble. He assesses, decides, and moves forward. This creates a deep, subconscious sense of trust. The man who controls his emotions controls the room. The difference between power and weakness. Two men lose their jobs on the same day. The first man explodes in anger. He rants about how unfair it is, how the company betrayed him. He complains to his friends, lashes out at his family, drowns himself in frustration. He wastes time being emotional while his situation stays the same. The second man sits in silence for a moment, letting reality settle. Then, he moves. He updates his resume, reaches out to contacts, sharpens his skills. He does not waste energy on what he cannot change. He directs all his energy toward what he can change. One man is a victim of his emotions. The other is the master of them. Who do you think the world respects more? The unshaken man is the most dangerous one. Seneca wrote, "A raging storm brings no fear to the man who has prepared his mind." A man who can't control his emotions is unpredictable, unreliable, and weak. But the one who can stay steady in any storm? That man is feared, respected, and trusted. Next time life tests you, stop before reacting. Ask yourself, is this worth my energy? Is this worth my peace? Is this something I control? If the answer is no, let it go. If the answer is yes, handle it with clarity, not emotion. Control yourself, and you will control your world. Number 3, they prioritize self-improvement over chasing love. When Jason was in his early 20s, he believed the key to attracting women was to constantly pursue them. He spent hours crafting the perfect texts, analyzing every conversation, trying to be the guy who was always available. He thought that by putting women first, by making them his priority, they would see his value. But over and over again, he found himself either ignored or placed in the friend zone. Frustrated, he decided to take a break from dating and focus on himself. He hit the gym, built a business, developed new skills, and chased goals that had nothing to do with relationships. At first, he did it purely for himself, but something unexpected happened. The more he focused on self-improvement, the more women started noticing him. Suddenly, he wasn't the one chasing. They were. Psychology confirms it. Women are drawn to men with purpose. Research in evolutionary psychology has consistently shown that women are more attracted to men with ambition, drive, and independence. A 2017 study, published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, found that women consistently rated men as more desirable when they were perceived as high status and goal-oriented, even over men who were simply physically attractive. Another study from Evolution and Human Behavior revealed that men who demonstrated competence, leadership, and ambition triggered higher levels of attraction than men who prioritized relationships over personal growth. Why? Because biologically, a man with purpose signals stability, strength, and direction. He is someone who can provide, protect, and lead. A man who chases women instead of his goals, however, signals neediness, lack of direction, and emotional dependence. Women don't want to be a man's purpose. They want to be drawn into a man's purpose. A Stoic never prioritizes external validation over internal growth. A Stoic understands that his greatest investment is himself. He does not structure his life around attracting women. He structures it around becoming the best version of himself. The irony is that this very mindset makes him more attractive. Women notice a man who moves with confidence, who doesn't seek approval, who is more focused on building his empire than sending endless texts. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." The modern translation, stop talking about your potential and start becoming something. A man who relentlessly pursues his goals without seeking external validation naturally becomes someone others admire. Women respect him. Other men look up to him. Opportunities flow to him. He doesn't chase, he attracts. The loser versus the winner mindset. Two men walk into a room. The first man immediately scans for women, adjusting his energy based on their attention. If he gets a smile, his confidence rises. If he's ignored, he shrinks. His mood is dictated by the response of others. His energy is desperate, and women sense it instantly. The second man walks in with purpose. He is not there for validation. He is there because he has a life, a mission, a reason to be present. He talks, he laughs, he carries himself with ease. He is completely unfazed by approval or rejection because his worth is already decided. And without even trying, women notice him. Self-improvement first. Everything else follows. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." Most men waste years chasing relationships, hoping that a woman's validation will make them feel complete. But those who achieve the most in life are those who understand that success, confidence, and attraction all come from within. Focus on your growth. Master a skill. Build your body. Chase your ambitions. Women are not attracted to a man who waits for their approval. They are attracted to the man too busy improving himself to need it. Number 4. They are not jealous or controlling. Jealousy is the fear of loss disguised as dominance. It is the silent admission that you believe someone else has the power to take what is yours. And the moment you let jealousy dictate your actions, you prove that you have already lost control, not over the situation, but over yourself. Dylan learned this the hard way. He had always been the type to check his girlfriend's phone when she wasn't looking, overanalyze her social media activity, and get irritated if she mentioned another man. He thought his protectiveness showed how much he cared. But deep down, he knew the truth. He was afraid. Afraid of losing her, afraid of not being enough, afraid that at any moment she might leave for someone better. And that fear made him weak. One night, after accusing her of flirting with a coworker, she finally said it, "You don't trust me. And honestly, that makes me not want to be with you." She didn't leave because of another man. She left because his insecurity had suffocated her. A Stoic knows he cannot control others, only himself. Jealousy is the byproduct of insecurity. The man who fears losing someone is the man who believes he is replaceable. The man who tries to control his partner is the man who has no control over himself. A Stoic does not operate this way. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." A truly confident person understands that they do not own anyone. They do not demand loyalty. They inspire it. They do not chase. They attract. And if someone chooses to leave, they do not beg. They simply let go. This level of detachment makes a Stoic incredibly attractive. Women do not want a man who is paranoid, suspicious, or emotionally unstable. They want a man who is secure, who trusts himself, who does not need constant reassurance. A man who remains calm in the face of uncertainty is a man who commands respect. The weak man versus the strong man. Two men are dating the same type of woman. She is social, confident, and occasionally receives attention from other men. The weak man obsesses over this. He constantly asks who she is texting, subtly pressures her to dress differently, and gets angry when she doesn't check in. He believes that by controlling her, he can prevent heartbreak. But his insecurity pushes her further away. The strong man, the Stoic, does the opposite. He remains unshaken. He knows that if she values him, she will stay, and if she doesn't, she is free to leave. He does not waste energy on fear. He knows that true power is found in self-mastery, not in controlling others. The ultimate test of confidence. Seneca wrote, "He who suffers before it is necessary suffers more than is necessary." Jealousy is suffering in advance. It is tormenting yourself over an outcome that may never come. A Stoic understands that relationships are built on trust, not fear. He does not act from insecurity. He does not demand control. He simply exists as his best self and lets the rest unfold as it will. A man who is unshaken by jealousy and control is a man who stands above the rest, not because he forces anyone to stay, but because he is someone they never want to leave. Number 5. They control their desires. They are not controlled by them. Desire is a double-edged sword. When harnessed, it fuels ambition, drive, and creation. But when left unchecked, it enslaves. Throughout history, the downfall of many men, kings, warriors, leaders, was not the battlefield or their enemies, but their inability to control their own impulses. The man who is ruled by desire is weak. The man who masters it is unstoppable. Leonard had always been successful, smart, well-spoken, and driven, but there was one thing that constantly derailed him: his obsession with women. Every decision, every action, every thought seemed to revolve around impressing, chasing, or pleasing them. He would change his personality to fit what he thought they wanted. He would drop his priorities the moment an attractive woman gave him attention. At first, he thought this made him desirable, but over time, something strange happened. Women started losing interest. One night, after another failed relationship, a friend bluntly told him the truth. You make them your purpose, and that's why they leave. That hit hard. He had built his entire identity around seeking validation from women, rather than building himself into someone naturally worth respecting. Desperation repels, control attracts. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The mind freed from passions is an impenetrable fortress. A man has no stronger place of retreat." Nothing makes a man weaker than being consumed by lust. Women sense when a man lacks control, when he is desperate, when he needs their validation to feel complete. This desperation repels. On the other hand, a man who is disciplined, who does not let his desires dictate his actions, becomes magnetic. A Stoic does not let his urges rule him. He sees attraction for what it is, natural, but not something that should override his purpose. He does not waste time chasing validation or bending himself to win approval. Instead, he builds himself, sharpens his mind, strengthens his body, expands his knowledge. And ironically, this very detachment makes him more attractive. The difference between slaves and masters. Two men walk into a room. The first immediately scans for women, adjusts his posture, laughs a little too hard at jokes, and seeks every opportunity to impress. His energy screams, "Please notice me." He is not in control, his desires are. The second moves with purpose. He is engaged in his own world, focused on his own mission. If he speaks to a woman, it is from a place of confidence, not neediness. His energy says, "I don't seek approval. I already know my worth." One is ruled, the other rules himself. Respect is earned through discipline. Seneca wrote, "No man is free who is a slave to his body." The greatest warriors, thinkers, and leaders in history understood this. They did not deny their desires, but they mastered them. They did not allow fleeting pleasures to dictate their path. A Stoic does not chase. He does not obsess. He does not compromise his values for temporary gratification. He builds himself into someone who naturally commands respect. Because in the end, a man who is controlled by nothing is a man who can achieve anything. Number 6. They don't play the chase game with women. Most people believe attraction is a game. Text at the right time, say the right things, act mysterious, make her jealous. They think if they master the rules, they will always win. But the men who truly command respect and attraction don't play games at all. They don't chase, they don't manipulate. They simply exist as their strongest selves, and the right people are drawn to them. Ethan used to believe that if he could just say the perfect words, send the perfect text, or act the perfect way, he could make any woman want him. He studied dating strategies, learned psychological tricks, tried to engineer attraction like a formula. Sometimes it worked for a while, but no matter how hard he tried, the same pattern repeated. Attraction never lasted. Women would lose interest, sensing something was off. Then, one day, an older friend gave him the truth. If you have to manipulate someone into liking you, you've already lost. That was the moment Ethan stopped playing the game. He stopped crafting texts to get reactions, stopped overanalyzing every interaction. Instead, he focused on himself, his goals, his growth, his purpose. And ironically, that's when women started chasing him. Predictability and neediness kill attraction. Most men become boring because they are too available, too eager, too easy to figure out. They text instantly, agree with everything, rearrange their lives just to fit around a woman. They don't hold their own opinions. They become an accessory, not a challenge. A Stoic is the opposite. He is grounded, secure, and completely himself. He does not need validation, so he does not alter his personality to win approval. He moves with purpose, and if someone fits into his life, great. If not, he does not chase. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "A man's worth is no greater than his ambitions." A man who chases is a man without higher ambitions. A man who is chasing a woman is a man who has made her his mission instead of focusing on his own. This is why the Stoic approach is so powerful. It prioritizes self-respect over external validation. Men who chase versus men who attract. Two men are interested in the same woman. The first man plays games. He delays texts, tries to act mysterious, agrees with everything she says, and subtly adjusts his personality to match hers. He believes if he does everything right, she will choose him. But she senses his neediness. He is reacting to her, not leading himself. The second man is simply himself. He speaks his mind, keeps his own schedule, and does not try to win her over. If she's interested, good. If not, he moves on. He does not invest his energy into something uncertain. He does not beg. He does not chase. Who is more attractive? The man who tries to be chosen, or the man who knows he already has value? Authenticity is the ultimate strength. Seneca wrote, "He who is everywhere is nowhere." If you shape-shift for approval, you lose yourself. If you play games to maintain attraction, you attract people who like the mask, not the man beneath it. A Stoic has no time for mind games. He stands firm in his values, his purpose, and his identity. He does not chase approval. He attracts by simply being. Number 7, they have natural leadership. Leadership is not about titles, authority, or demanding respect. True leadership is the ability to make decisions, take responsibility, and act with confidence. Qualities that women instinctively find attractive. A Stoic does not hesitate, does not wait for permission, and does not constantly seek validation before taking action. He moves with certainty, and others naturally follow. In a small startup, 2 managers were given a project. The first, Kevin, constantly asked his team for opinions before making any decision. He feared making the wrong call, so he waited for approval, hesitated, and second-guessed himself. The team sensed his uncertainty and, over time, lost respect for him. The second, Daniel, listened to his team but ultimately made the tough calls himself. Even when uncertain, he spoke with conviction. If he made a mistake, he owned it, adjusted, and kept moving forward. His confidence created trust. People followed him not because they had to, but because they believed in him. Women are drawn to decision makers. A 2019 study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that women are significantly more attracted to men who display decisiveness, confidence, and assertiveness, traits historically linked to leadership. The reason is simple. Certainty signals strength. A man who can take charge, who can handle situations without hesitation, triggers a deep sense of security and attraction. Most men, however, hesitate. They ask, "Where do you want to eat?" instead of saying, "Let's go here." They wait for approval before making a move. They constantly check for reassurance instead of trusting their judgment. This lack of conviction kills attraction. A Stoic never falls into this trap. Indecision is weakness. Action is power. Marcus Aurelius wrote, Think of yourself as dead. You have lived your life. Now take what's left and live it properly. This means acting without fear, without waiting for the perfect moment. A man who cannot make decisions is a man who is controlled by life, rather than one who controls it. A Stoic does not ask for permission to lead. He simply leads. He moves forward, makes choices, and adapts as needed. This decisiveness makes him magnetic, not just to women, but to everyone around him. Lead or be led. The world belongs to those who take action. Women follow men who know where they are going. Teams respect leaders who take responsibility. Life rewards those who move with certainty. A Stoic does not hesitate. He does not doubt. He does not wait. He decides, he acts, and the world follows. Number 8. They control their time and attention. Time is the one resource you can never get back. Yet, most people waste it on meaningless conversations, on relationships that drain them, on chasing people who do not value them. A Stoic does not fall into this trap. He guards his time like a king protects his kingdom. He understands that where he places his attention determines the quality of his life, and he refuses to let unworthy distractions steal his focus. Jack was the type of guy who always made himself available. If a woman showed even the slightest interest, he dropped everything to pursue her. If she texted, he responded instantly. If she canceled plans, he rescheduled immediately. He thought this was what women wanted: constant attention, unlimited availability. But over and over, he found himself being taken for granted. Women would lose interest quickly, treating him as an option rather than a priority. One day, after another disappointing experience, a mentor told him, "If you treat yourself like you have no value, don't be surprised when others do the same." Jack realized his mistake. He had been too eager, too accessible, too willing to invest his time in people who had not earned it. He decided to change. From that moment, Jack became intentional with his time. He focused on his work, his passions, his goals. He no longer answered texts immediately. He no longer dropped everything to accommodate others. And something interesting happened. Women started valuing him more. They saw that his attention was not freely given, and because of that, it became something worth earning. Scarcity creates value. People do not respect what is easily obtained. A man who is always available signals that his time has no worth. A man who controls his attention, however, creates an aura of importance. Women take him seriously because they know he is not easily impressed. His attention must be deserved, not assumed. A 2021 study in the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships found that people value relationships more when they feel they have worked to earn them. The same principle applies to attraction. When a man's time is limited, when his attention is given deliberately, it creates a sense of exclusivity. The Stoic approach to time and energy. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." A Stoic understands that time is life. He does not waste it on meaningless relationships, pointless conversations, or people who do not respect him. A Stoic does not chase. He does not beg for attention. He does not give his time to those who take it for granted. Because a man who respects his time forces the world to respect him in return. Number 9. They are not manipulated by emotion. Emotional control is the difference between a man who leads and a man who is led. The ability to remain steady, to think clearly, to resist being pulled into unnecessary drama. This is what separates the weak from the strong. Many men lose their power not because they lack intelligence, but because they let emotions override logic. A Stoic does not fall into this trap. Nathan learned this the hard way. He had been in a relationship with someone who constantly tested him, canceling plans last minute to see how he would react, making vague comments about other men to spark jealousy, creating arguments out of thin air just to see if he would chase her. And for a while, it worked. He would get emotional, demand explanations, and fall into the cycle of proving himself. Every time he reacted, she gained more control. Then one day, after yet another pointless argument, a thought hit him. Why am I letting someone else dictate my emotions? From that moment, he changed. The next time she tried to provoke him, he remained calm. When she played games, he refused to engage, and almost instantly the dynamic shifted. She became frustrated, while he became untouchable. Emotional manipulation only works on those who lack control. Some women use emotions as a tool to test, to provoke, to manipulate. Not all do this maliciously, but many do it instinctively. They push to see how much a man will tolerate, to see if he will break. The moment he does, she knows she controls him. A Stoic, however, is different. He does not overreact. He does not chase validation. He does not engage in pointless emotional battles. He operates on logic, always asking, does this deserve my energy? Most of the time, the answer is no. Reason over emotion is power. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." The world is full of people trying to provoke a reaction. The moment you allow them to control your emotions, you lose. A Stoic understands this, and that is why he is always in control, not just of himself, but of every situation. A man who cannot be manipulated emotionally is a man who commands respect. He does not need to prove anything, he does not need to beg for approval, and he does not let the emotions of others dictate his decisions. He stands firm, and the world adjusts to him, not the other way around. Conclusion: Stoic men, the ultimate advantage in dating. A Stoic man does not attract women by chasing them. He does not seek approval, play games, or mold himself to fit someone else's expectations. He becomes magnetic because he focuses entirely on mastering himself. His confidence is not a performance. It is the natural result of discipline, self-respect, and purpose. Most men waste energy seeking validation, afraid of rejection, trying to be liked. But a Stoic moves differently. He does not chase attention, he commands it. He does not beg for love, he inspires it. And if it does not come, he remains unshaken, because his value does not depend on external validation. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." In dating, the best strategy is not to play the games others play, but to rise above them entirely. The man who controls himself, who sets his own standards, who refuses to be controlled by fleeting emotions, that man wins. Stop chasing attention, chase greatness, and attention will chase you.